there. Anybody here yet? No. Salute. Oh, it's hot. Oh, muy caliente. Mucho, mucho. Okay. Mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Don't get back. I have to turn this off because it's hot in here now. It's very hot. Oh, hello. Hi. I have a good story for you today. I think you're gonna like it. It's a good story. Everybody likes a good story. Good, good. Now, what was I going to talk about? Yeah. Well, today is the feast of what's his name? A very famous saint, and I can't remember his name now. Very, very famous saint, and was it Saint Felix or Saint Philip? Or hold on, let me see if I'll be right back. Oh, hello. I'll be right back in about 2 seconds. Thank you. Hmm. Oh dear. Uh-oh, my viewers are waiting for me. Let me get this in here. hmm I keep on forgetting the name of the saint. Hold on. Oh, that's right. St. Peter Claver. hmm I remember now. There you are. Hi, everybody. So it's the feast of St. Peter Claver. He was a Jesuit priest. And he was sent from Europe to, I think it was, where was it? Let me see. I'll be right back. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Oops. Mm-hmm. Clever. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, St. Peter Claver. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm back. Isabel. Aha. Okay, so it's St. Peter Claver. He was a Jesuit scholastic and he was sent to to Colombia. And in the 1500s, between 15, the later part of the 15th century and the early part of the 16th, no, the early part of the 16th century and the middle part of the 17th century. So he lived around 1500s to the 1600s, mid to mid 1700s. So late 1500s and early 1600s. And he was a wonderful saint. He converted 300,000 Africans. Do you know how many people came from Africa as slaves? Well, I'd say about about almost a million, because 1/3 of them died on the way from there to here. Isn't that horrible? It was horrible. And there's Christians. We were Christians. Eesh, that's very bad. Them is a lot of Africans brought over to the New World as slaves. And what they did was they brought them over and they were a mess. So this man, this Jesuit priest, took care of them. All of them almost that came on the boats there. That was where they would come and drop off all the slaves, and they would sell them to different nations and different peoples. But he said sometimes people would come that were all ready to die right there. And what they did was they would make little places where they could put these dying people and give them something like food, and they had goodies for them and everything. And those that were dying, they would try to bring them back to life, and they did. A lot of them, they were dying, and they brought them back to life. But what a life! What a horrible life as slaves there. But the slave owners didn't like him, of course, because he was always reminding them that they were well. First, they believed that didn't have a soul, that they were animals. The Pope had to decree that they were human beings, that they had souls. Can you imagine these? Well, remember, they were living in an age where they didn't have all the psychology and all this stuff. And now we're having the same thing with trafficking. They're sending people all over the world from here, knocking them out somehow, and then sending them all over the world. They're in Russia, they're in South America, they're enslaved. They're little kids that are here walking around. The next, what happened to him? He disappeared. Now he's in Europe as a slave of somebody, or they're in South America, or they're in China as slaves. So you have to be really careful when you're walking around and when you have kids, because that's what they take. They take young girls, especially, and little guys too, and older guys and teenagers and things like that. And they sell them and they use them as slaves. Isn't that horrible? It's happening today, and it's going to get worse because these big honchos that sell drugs and on drug lords, they're finding out it's more profitable. They get more money from one person than they would from tons of drugs. So be very careful. It's really something that they don't mention because I think maybe even some of the governments are dealing with it too, with trafficking. So they haven't mentioned it a lot, but now there's a movie coming out about traffickers, and it's by that guy that played Jesus in the I think it is Auregi, or the one that played in one of those religious movies, who's a good Christian Catholic, and it's unimaginable that people would do the same thing that they were doing hundreds of years ago in the 1500s. But a lot of slavery, 15, 16, 1700s, when they were bringing tons of black people over here, just Africans. And it's just a horrible thing. So, today I have a story for you you'll like. Maybe it'll make your day happier. But have you seen here? And look at this. Look at outside. Can you see it? It's that dark, and you see the redness of it. I think if I put this on, can you see how red it is? The entire area is red and dark. It's like it's. When I woke up this morning, I thought it was nighttime, and it was already, you know, late in the morning, and it's not good. It's scary. But don't worry, it's not like that everywhere. So it's not the end of the world. It's not the days of darkness that people are always talking about. They're going to have the candles, the blessed candles, and they're going to put them in the day of darkness. Now, stop buying those things. They're phony. All that stuff. When God wants to end the world, he'll end it and nobody knows. Even Jesus says, I don't know. My Father knows, but I don't. As a human being, of course. He was also God, and as God he knew. But when we die, that's the end of the world for us. Why worry about the end of the world? It's when we die, and that's it. Goodbye, little world. And then we spend our whole eternity being happy, hopefully. And that's life. God's always out there to help us to get to Him. He put it in everybody. Every person who's born in this world, whether they believe in God or not, has this desire to be connected with something, someone, okay, something that'll make them happy. And the only thing that can make us all happy is God, possessing God. Isn't that something? St. Augustine said that too late have I given you my love, have I rested in you. Too late have I done that. Because he had a horrible life in the beginning. St. Augustine, the big bishop, the big doctor of the church, was fooling around and doing all kinds of naughties when he was young. And then his mom prayed for him, prayed for him, prayed for him, prayed. He was a paganish. He was living like a pagan even though he was baptized. His father was a pagan. And that doesn't mean pagans aren't bad people. It's just that they weren't baptized. Any baptized person is not a pagan. But, well, the Jews used to call us dogs. Anybody who was not a Jew, they would refer to us as dogs in the time of Jesus. Remember, Jesus said, when that lady said, "Can you cure my daughter?" And he goes, "Well, you're not really Jewish. I came for the Jewish people." That's the saying. That's just a saying. Came for everybody. But at that time, he says, "Yes, I came for the Jewish folk." And then she goes, "Well," he says, "I cannot give food to the dogs." Ooh. And then she says, "Well, even scraps that fall from the table, the dog eats." So she got them. They should cap on each other. So she capped on Jesus, and he said, "Hey, that's a pretty good cap. Your daughter's, because you have faith, your daughter is cured, Jew or not Jew." Nice, huh? Okay, so are you ready for the story? I hope. I hope you like this story because I picked it out just for you from many, many stories. It's an O. Henry story. And O. Henry stories are known for, there's Jose again. Hello. So, O. Henry stories are known for being O. Henry stories. That means that they have a surprise ending. And to us, it's not surprising because they steal. They always steal from each other. Well, this was stolen from Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I think that's who wrote it, yeah. So they steal each other's endings and surprise endings, but this one's pretty original, and a lot of movies and a lot of TV series like to end as the story will end. So, are you ready for the story? Okay, it's by O. Henry, O period, and then Henry, Henry. He's very famous. If you want to read fun stories, read his stories, especially The Gift of the Magi, which I read every Christmas because it's my favorite. It's a great story. Stories are important because, like, for instance, this man here, Father Alejandro Rodriguez wrote this book on education. It's pretty nice. It's a very nice educational book in Spanish, but it's also going to come out in English. And I copy edited his English version, about 400 pages. It was a long job, but we got through it, and now he's going to publish it in English. So make sure you get it. It's a different title in English. I even forgot what it is, and I copy edited the book. So yeah, but he's a doctor of education, PhD, and he writes books, and he's on internet a lot with a program from Mexico. But he's here. He's in Berkeley, so he streams from. Well, he's streaming, but he's they're in Mexico and he's here, and they get together on internet. I think it's Zoom, and it's fun. You can find him in YouTube a lot. His name is Father Alejandro Rodriguez. Just put Rodriguez Alex or Alejandro, and you'll get some of his writings and some of his YouTube things. Okay, so we begin. Okay, let us begin. The story was maybe written in the early 1900s, so you have to think. Back there, train travel was a main way of getting around in the United States, and this is in the East. Okay, are you ready? We shall begin now. In the prison shoe shop, Jimmy Valentine was busily at work making shoes. A prison officer came into the shop and led Jimmy to the prison office. There, Jimmy was given an important paper. It said that he was free. Jimmy took the paper without showing much pleasure or interest. He had been sent to prison to stay for 4 years. He had been there for 10 months, but he had expected to stay only 3 months. Jimmy Valentine had many friends outside the prison. A man with so many friends does not expect to stay in prison long. Valentine, said the chief prison officer, you'll go out tomorrow morning. This is your chance. Make a man of yourself. You're not a bad fellow at heart. Stop breaking safes open and live a better life. Me, said Jimmy in surprise. I never broke open a safe in my life. Oh, no, the chief prisoner officer laughed. Never. Let's see. How did you happen to get sent to prison for opening that safe in Springfield? Was it because you didn't want to tell where you really were? Perhaps because you were with some lady and you didn't want to tell her name? Or was it because the judge didn't like you? You men always have a reason like that. You never go to prison because you broke open a safe. Me, Jimmy said, his face still showed surprise. I was never in Springfield in my life. Take him away, said the chief prison officer. Get him the clothes he needs for going outside. Bring him here again at 7 in the morning. And think about what I said, Valentine. At 7:15 on the next morning, Jimmy stood again in the office. He had on some new clothes that did not fit him and a pair of shoes that hurt his feet. These are the usual clothes given to a prisoner when he leaves the prison. Okay, we're talking about a prisoner right now who's let go, and he's a safe cracker. He opens safes. David. Okay. At 7:15 the next morning, hi, Jimmy stood again in the office. He had some new clothes that didn't fit well, etc., etc. Next, they gave him money to pay for his trip on a train to the city near the prison. They gave him $5 more. The $5 were supposed to help him become a better man. Then the chief prison officer put out his hand for a handshake. That was the end of Valentine Prisoner 9762. Mr. James Valentine walked out into the sunshine. He did not listen to the song of the birds or look at the green trees or smell the flowers. He went straight to a restaurant. There he tasted the first sweet joys of being free. He had a good dinner. After that, he went to the train station. He gave some money to a blind man who sat there asking for money, and then he got on the train. 3 hours later, he got off the train in a small town. Here he went to the restaurant of Mike Dolan. Mike Dolan was alone there. After shaking hands, he said, I'm sorry we couldn't do it sooner, Jimmy, my boy. But there was that safe in Springfield, too. It wasn't easy. Feeling all right? Fine, said Jimmy. Is my room waiting for me? He went up and opened the door of a room at the back of the house. Everything was as he had left it. It was here that they had found Jimmy when they took him to prison. There on the floor was a small piece of cloth. It had been torn from the coat of the cop, as Jimmy was trying to escape. Those of you that came late, we're talking about a guy who he just got out of prison, and he's met with this guy who got him out, and he's a bank robber, and he opens safes. He's a safe cracker. There was a bed. He's now in his hotel room, out of jail. There was a bed against a wall. Jimmy pulled the bed toward the middle of the room. The wall behind it looked like any wall, but now Jimmy found and opened a small door in it. From this opening, he pulled out a dust covered bag. He opened this and looked lovingly at the tools for breaking open a safe. No finer tools could be found any place. They were complete. Everything needed was here. They had been made of a special material and in the necessary sizes and shapes. Jimmy had planned them himself, and he was very proud of them. It had cost him over $900 to have these tools made at a place where they make such things for men who work at the job of safe breaking. So now we have this safe breaker who's out of jail, and he's got these beautiful tools, and he keeps on saying he never stole anything. Okay, let's continue. In half an hour, Jimmy went downstairs and through the restaurant. He had now dressed in good clothes that fitted him well. He carried his dusted and cleaned bag. Do you have anything planned? Asked Mike Dolan. Me? Asked Jimmy as if surprised. I don't understand. I work for the New York famous bread and cake makers company, and I sell the best bread and cake in the country. Mike enjoyed these words so much that Jimmy had to take a drink with him. Jimmy had some milk. He never drank anything stronger. A week after Valentine 9762 left the prison, a safe was broken open in Richmond, Indiana. No one knew who did it. $800 were taken. Well, now it would be like 16,000. This is written in the early 1900s. 2 weeks after that, a safe in Langensport was opened. It was a new kind of safe. It had been made, they said, so strong that no one could break it open. But someone did and took $150,000. Then a safe in Jefferson City was opened. $160,000 were taken. This loss was a big one. Ben Price was a cop. Ben Price worked on such important matters, and now he began to work on this. He went to Richmond, Indiana, and Langensport to see how the safe breaking had been done in those places. He was heard to say, I can see that Jim Valentine has been here. He is in the business again. Look at the way he opened this one. Everything easy, everything clean. He's the only man who has the tools to do it. And he's the only man who knows how to use the tools like this. Yes, I want Mr. Valentine. Next time he goes to prison, he's going to stay there until his time is finished. Ben Price knew how Jimmy worked. Jimmy would go from one city to another far away. He always worked alone. He always left quickly when he was finished. He enjoyed being with nice people. For all these reasons, it was not easy to catch Mr. Valentine. People with sales full of money were glad to hear people with safes full of money were glad to hear that Ben Price was at work trying to catch Mr. Valentine. One afternoon, Jimmy Valentine and his bag arrived in a small town called Elmore. Jimmy looked as young as a college boy, walked down the street toward the hotel. A young woman walked across the street, passed him at the corner, and entered a door. Over the door was the sign, the Elmore Bank. Jimmy Valentine looked into her eyes, forgetting at once what he was. He became another man. She looked away, and brighter color came into her face. Young men like Jimmy did not appear often in Elmore. Jimmy saw a boy near the bank and began to ask questions about the town. After a time, the young lady came out and went on her way. She seemed not to see Jimmy as she passed him. "Isn't that young lady Polly Simpson?" asked Jimmy. "No," said the boy. "She's Annabel Adams. Her father owns this bank." Jimmy went to the hotel where he said his name was Ralph D. Spencer. He got a room there. He told the hotel man he had come to Elmore to go into business. How was the shoe business? Was there already a good shoe shop? The man thought that Jimmy's clothes and manners were fine. He was very happy to talk to him. Yes, Elmore needed a good shoe shop. There was no shop that sold just shoes. Shoes were sold in the big shops that sold everything. All business in Elmore was good. He hoped Mr. Spencer would decide to stay in Elmore. It was a pleasant town to live in, and the people were friendly. Let me take a drink of this. It's tea. Okay, so he hoped that Mr. Spencer would stay there. Mr. Spencer said he would stay in town a few days and learn something about it. No, he said he himself would carry his bag up to his room. He didn't want a boy to take it. It was very heavy. Mr. Ralph Spencer remained in Elmore. He started a shoe shop business that was good. Also, he made many friends, and he was successful of his business. He met Adams, her better every day. At the end of a year, everyone in Elmore liked Mr. Ralph Spencer. His shoe shop was doing very good business, and he and Annabel were going to be married in 2 weeks. Mr. Adams, the small town banker, liked Spencer. Annabel was very proud of him. He seemed already to belong to the Adams family. One day, Jimmy sat down in his room to write a letter, which he sent to one of his old friends. Dear old friend, I want you to meet me at Sullivan's place next week on the evening of the 10th. I want to give you my tools. I know you'll be glad to have them. You couldn't buy them for $1,000. I finished I am finished with the old business a year ago. I have a nice shop. I'm living a better life, and I'm going to marry the best girl on earth 2 weeks from now. It's the only life. I wouldn't ever again touch another man's money. After I marry, I'm going to go further west where I'll never see anyone who knew me in my old life. I tell you, she's a wonderful girl. She trusts me. Your old friend, Jimmy. On the Monday night after Jimmy sent this letter, Ben Price arrived quietly in Elmore. He moved slowly about the town in his quiet way, and he learned all that he wanted to know. Standing inside a shop, he watched Ralph D. Spencer walk by. "You're going to marry the banker's daughter, are you, Jimmy?" said Ben to himself. "I don't feel sure about that." The next morning, Jimmy was at the Adams home. He was going to a nearby city that day to buy new clothes for the wedding. He was also going to buy a gift for Annabel. It would be his first trip out of Elmore. It was more than a year now since he had done any safe breaking. Most of the Adams family went to the bank together that morning. There was Mr. Adams, Annabel, Jimmy, and Annabel's married sister with her 2 little girls, aged 5 and 9. They passed Jimmy's hotel, and Jimmy ran up to his room and brought along his bag. Then they went to the bank. All went inside, Jimmy too, for he was one of the family. Everyone in the bank was glad to see the good looking, nice young man who was going to marry Annabel. Jimmy put his bag down. Annabel, laughing, put Jimmy's hat on her head and picked up the bag. "How do I look?" she asked. "Ralph, how heavy this bag is. It feels full of gold." "It's full of some things I don't need in my shop," Jimmy said. "I'm taking them to the city. to the place where they came from. That saves me the cost of sending them. I'm going to be a married man. I must learn to save money. The Elmore Bank had a new safe. Mr. Adams was very proud of it, and he wanted everyone to see it. It was as large as a small room, and it had a very special door. The door was controlled by a clock. Using the clock, the banker planned the time when the door should open. At other times, no one, not even the banker himself, could open it. He explained about it to Mr. Spencer. Mr. Spencer seemed interested, but he did not seem to understand very easily. The two children, May and Agatha, enjoyed seeing the shiny, heavy door with all its special parts. While they were busy like this, Ben Price entered the bank. He looked around. He told a young man who worked there that he had not come on business. He was waiting for a man. Suddenly, there was a cry from the women. They had not been watching the children. May, the 9-year-old girl, had playfully but firmly closed the door of the safe, and Agatha was inside. The old banker tried to open the door. He pulled at it for a moment. The door can't be open, he cried. And the clock, I hadn't started it yet. Agatha's mother cried out again. Quiet, said Mr. Adams, raising a shaking hand. All be quiet for a moment. Agatha, he called as loudly as he could. Listen to me. They could hear, but not clearly, the sound of the child's voice. In the darkness inside the safe, she was wild with fear. My baby, her mother cried. She will die of fear. Open the door. Break it open. Can't you men do something? There isn't a man nearer than the city who can open that door, said Mr. Adams in a shaking voice. My God, Spencer, what shall we do? That child, she can't live long in there. There isn't enough air, and the fear will kill her. Agatha's mother, wild too, beat on the door with her hands. Annabel tried to turn to Jimmy, her large eyes full of pain, but with some hope, too. A woman thinks that the man she loves can somehow do anything. Can't you do something, Ralph? Try, won't you? He looked at her with a strange, soft smile on his lips and in his eyes. Annabel, he said, give me that flower you're wearing, will you? She could not believe that she had really heard him, but she put the flower in his hand. Jimmy took it and put it where he could not lose it. Then he pulled off his coat. With that act, Ralph T. Spencer passed away, and Jimmy Valentine took his place. Stand away from the door, all of you, he commanded. He put his bag on the table and opened it flat. From that time on, he seemed not to know that anyone else was near. Quickly, he had laid the shining, strange tools on the table. The others watched as if they had lost the power to move. In a minute, Jimmy was at work on the door. In 10 minutes, faster than he had ever done it before, he had the door opened. Agatha was taken into her mother's arms. Jimmy Valentine put on his coat, picked up the flower, and walked toward the front door. As he went, he thought he heard a voice call, Ralph? He did not stop. At the door, a big man stood in his way. Hello, Ben, said Jimmy, still with a strange smile. You're here at last, are you? Let's go. I don't care now. And then Ben Price acted rather strangely. I guess you're wrong about this, Mr. Spencer, he said. I don't believe I know you, do I? And Ben Price turned and walked slowly down the street. Well, did you like that story? That's a pretty cool story. Nice little ending, and the guy didn't have to go to jail, and it's a good story. So, how have all of you been? So here we're kind of scared because I told you of this huge uh, red sky that's above us and creates kind of a very dark atmosphere here. It was very strange, but do not fear. It's not, the end of the world, and you don't have to light all kinds of candles and all that stuff. Not superstitious stuff, really. Um, so remember, today's a feast of that famous saint who Peter Claver, who really freed in a way, not from chains, but freed them in their spirit because he baptized more than 300,000 Africans. Can you imagine? 300,000 by treating them nice when they came across. And they threw them out of the boats and they were all horribly dirty and filthy. And he cleaned them. He would go there every month when every month 1,000 Africans were brought in. Every month there were 1,000. And he would take care of them before they were sold and also go to the plantations and make sure that they weren't being, maltreated. And I'm sure they were in some cases. The African traders, the slave traders, they didn't like him because he was very kind to these people. They were still saying that they were animals. It took writing from the Pope to declare that they were not animals, that they had souls and all that. Isn't that something? But I tell you, Christians, we Christians. So yeah, so that's what he did, and he spent his whole life doing that with a group of friends too that he had that were of his mind, and yeah, but that's a lot of Christians he baptized, 300,000. But there must have been a million slaves crossing, but 1/3 of them were done away with. They were gone, dead on the way from Africa to here. It was a very horrible journey. But and have we changed that much? No. Look at what's happening now with trafficking and people getting shot and killed, right and left, and all that. Not good. Not good. Well, I hope things get better, and I hope the pandemic uh, is soon to get off this area here in our nation and the world, the planet. Um, yeah, we'll pray for that. And we'll also pray for all your intentions. And yeah, so make sure you say your prayers and your three Hail Marys when I leave. And pray for all the intentions of all the people that ask for prayers here. And yeah, so I'm going to give you a blessing today. May Almighty God bless and keep you safe. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Oops. I don't know why this is blocking this here. Oh, there you go. Strange. Hmm. Well, thank you for coming and visiting. And hi, Gina. I'm working on that little project. Ah. So we'll see you then. Take care. And I'm going to go and get some shut eye. I couldn't sleep last night. All these things happening. Bye bye.